The dispute between Canada and China is showing no signs of de-escalation. Canadian officials continue to try to rally international support in calling for the release of Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor, as well as a reprieve for Robert Schellenberg, who was sentenced to death earlier this month. Today, China's ambassador, whom you see here, held a rare interview with a number of journalists. LU Shaye defended China's arrest of 2 Canadians and the death sentence for Schellenberg. He says China is hurt by Canada's arrest of Huawei's CFO. He is also warning Ottawa against involving its allies in this diplomatic dispute. The CBC's Dyer was one of the reporters to speak with the ambassador to Canada. He joins me now live. Evan.
Well, LU Shaye had certainly a very on-track, online message for the 3 Canadians in detention or in death row in the case of Robert Schellenberg in China. No movement of China's official position that there's no connection between any of these cases and the Meng Wanzhou case. And that extends to saying that even if Meng Wanzhou is released by a Canadian court, nothing will change either in the legal proceedings against Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor or in the carrying out of the death penalty against Robert Schellenberg. He says that will all depend entirely on their own cases, Schellenberg's appeal, the evidence against the other 2. He also refused to reveal any of the evidence against the 2 Michaels, the 2 men who are accused of endangering China's national security. But this was a mixed message. It was not as harsh as the language that we've heard coming out of the briefings given by China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying in Beijing. There were no personal attacks against any Canadian official, as we have seen in those daily briefings. And the tone was a mixture of warnings, if you like, of what would happen if Meng Wanzhou is not released, and also that one very clear warning that if Canada rejects Huawei as a bidder for its 5G upgrade, that there will be repercussions. But also some positive talk about the positive view the Chinese people have of Canada, how they see it as the most friendly and open of Western countries to them, and also talk about the great future of trade and tourism between China, that China would like to extend last year's year of Canada-China tourism for another year, which seems rather incongruous under the circumstances. Nonetheless, he said that. He also talked about China helping Canada to diversify its trade away from its dependence on the U.S. market. So it was not as provocative in tone as some of what we've seen coming out from China, and it seemed to be an attempt to keep lines open. And I suppose that would be the reason for having this news conference in the first place, because one of the first questions I think we have to ask ourselves is why he chose to speak at all.
Okay, China's vice president, though, is going to Davos, Switzerland, to convince international business elite it's open and ready for business. Yeah. At the same time, Chrystia Freeland's going to be there working the rooms, trying to get support for Canada in this dispute. Could be awkward.
It's going to be awkward for China. That was one thing that came across very clearly today, was that the Chinese really do not like Canada, rather going out and speaking to its allies about this case and trying to recruit the support, which it has done successfully, of countries like the United States, UK, Germany, and a number of others, and today adding its name to that list, Spain, which protested both the death sentence against Robert Schellenberg and the detentions of the other 2 Canadians. So China was in the person of LU Shaye, its ambassador in Canada, was saying today very clearly, keep the bilateral channels open, but let's keep this between us. Stop talking to your allies. You won't help yourself by bringing them in, and saying that these Western countries don't represent international opinion. LU Shaye went as far as to say, we, China, we have friends too, friends in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, though he didn't name any. And it must be pointed out that no country has publicly come out to support China in this dispute. And you definitely got the sense, Carol, that they're concerned about their international image. They don't want Western countries to see China as a place that arbitrarily grabs foreign visitors, and they want China to be seen as a country with rule of law. And you almost got the sense that they realize that they've painted themselves into a little bit of a corner by seizing these 2 Canadians in particular, because now it's very hard for them to trade them or offer to trade them for Meng Wanzhou without giving the lie to their own talk about due process and the rule of law in China.
All right, Evan, thank you.
Thanks, Phil.